So there are growing calls for abandoned mines to be closed to protect the communities around them. And that's after 8 women were gang raped near an abandoned mine shaft in West Village in Krugersdorp over the weekend. In fact, last Thursday. Police Minister Bheki Cele says the perpetrators are a group of men called Zama Zamas. These are informal miners who are often migrants from neighbouring countries. So unfortunately, this is not the only area in the country where illegal miners are accused of terrorising residents. But let's get your reaction now from the Executive Director of an organisation called Mining Affected Communities United in Action. Christopher Rutledge joins us via our video link this morning. Christopher, the issue that unfolded in Krugersdorp with that gruesome gang rape, is it the tip of the iceberg insofar as what these communities are facing as a result of these mines staying open?
Good morning. Yes, I'm very sad to say, this is horrific for us to be talking about this. And we know that for the longest time, communities have been struggling with rising lawlessness, if one can say that, in the areas. And there's been efforts to address the matter, to be fair. But also, I think what is critical for us to understand is that this is a much bigger problem in the sense that the state has allowed the lawlessness in the mining sector to unfold. And we've been pointing for the longest time to the fact that the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy is continuing to degrade the ability of the regulator, which is the Department of Mineral Resources. They are continually degrading the ability of the DMRE to regulate the sector. So they are not holding mines to account. Mines are simply abandoning properties left, right and center. And there's no real plan to deal with the consequences of that. So we have these...
Christopher, that was actually, apologies for interrupting you, that was actually my next question to you, because whose responsibility is it to ensure that these abandoned mines are not used the way they are currently being used by illegal miners?
Yeah. So, Michelle, what we do is we in a range of reports and engagements, we have shown that there appears to be, the effort of the state around mining and the effort of private companies around mining has been a simple one since the days of colonialism. It has been to extract as much wealth as possible out of the system and then to take it out of the country. And that continues to happen today. So what happens is the mines then give a percentage of their income or part. Government allocates a number and says you must pay so much to rehabilitate the mine. Then they put it in a pot, and the pot then is controlled by government, and government is left with the responsibility to close off the mines and make sure that they are rehabilitated. But that system doesn't work. One, because the government itself, the DMRE, are not regulating the system. They don't have the capacity, they don't have the systems, they don't have the focus or the determination to do it. And so really you're left with a Wild West kind of scenario where anybody is able to go into these abandoned mines, start to mine, and then with that forced criminality, if you will, you build up these networks of gangs. And we've seen this in the Cape, for example, where the economy underlying the main economy starts to develop and it's not controlled, it's not dealt with, then gangs start to grow more powerful, they get weapons, they get organized, and as they accumulate wealth, they become really, really powerful. And that's what is happening at the moment.
And then, of course, it's an issue of turf, right? And that's part of the issue insofar as violence is concerned.
Indeed. Now it becomes about we are extracting this wealth and we will protect our turf with our lives, because that is what it really comes down to. It's a Wild West situation. And the problem really is, this is not something now in its current state that the state can solve by itself. It needs a collaboration across society. It needs communities, it needs the state, it needs the police, it needs parliament, it needs all of these players to come together urgently to address them. We've been pushing for the Department of Mineral Resources to legalize the sector as soon as possible so that it can be controlled, so that we can regulate it, so that we can undermine the criminality that is growing in the sector. And the state has just dawdled, has twiddled its thumbs. In 2017 we had mass protest in Kimberley, where they eventually then gave miners access to a mining site, and there was attempts to legalize it.
Right.
But then 2017, we're 5 years down the line, all they've done is really draft a policy, and the policy is nowhere to be seen. It's gone into the mist of Parliament, and we don't know where it is.
And once again, it's a shame that a gruesome incident like the one that unfolded at that abandoned mine in West Village has had to put the spotlight on this issue again. Christopher Rutledge, thanks very much indeed for weighing in. He's the Executive Director of Mining Affected Communities United in Action, as we continue to track the story of abandoned mines being hubs for serious crimes.